Yo, what up? Just doing a quick, kind of informal update on my progress to trying to get better here. So now I'm just looking at August onward, so only about a month of sample size, but I had some interesting findings here. Things have kind of shifted around. I have 100% win rate with Awoken just across the board. It's potential that Awoken is actually my best clan now. I think I have a pretty good grasp on an Awoken right now. I think I understand most of the strengths and weaknesses of the clan, and I've been able to really set up my runs such that I only, open myself up to those strengths and try not to take the weak paths. That's pretty ambiguous, I know, but kind of hard to explain in one video because there's a lot going on there. But I think I've had enough Awoken success lately that I'm definitely getting a grasp on them. Oddly enough, Hellhorned, 90% isn't bad, right? That's still better than I've had historically. It's just that every other clan has kind of done a little bit better here, right? So I don't know, I still kind of consider Hellhorned either best or second best for me. They always feel very strong when I play them. The particular losses that I did have in this time range were completely preventable, and they were my fault. So I don't know. I still think Hellhorned is potentially the best clan in the game, if not at least the second best. And Wormkin, oddly enough, is the one I'm still struggling with, but only the secondary. So like these are all blended, so it takes these win rates are taking into factor like secondary or primary. If I look up here where I separate primary and secondary, we kind of see the story here. Like the Wormkin champs are very powerful, and I have not lost with Wormkin primary, but all these Wormkin losses come from secondary. And now this could just be that it's still the newest clan, and I'm learning the ropes. I mean, it's definitely part of it, but I have been kind of pondering recently if Wormkin's secondary it kind of isn't that good. There's a lot that either champ do that really opens up a lot of Wormkin shit that you don't get when you get Wormkin as a secondary. It's almost like, I don't know, it's like if you want to get Consume, you kind of have to get Broken Memories or the etching, Wormkin etchings. And alternatively, just like Reap decks. I never really get a Reap deck to work outside of Spine Chief, so like Reap as a mechanic is like iffy as a secondary. And then also just, you kind of have to build full in on Wormkin to make the Wormkin units work, like Eggs or Inspire units. And if you don't, you kind of just don't get any value out of Wormkin. So it's kind of makes sense to me that it's actually kind of shitty as a secondary, but I'm willing to concede that could just be that I haven't figured out how to make Wormkin secondary as consistent. But everything else here is like pretty good. As a secondary, if we go down here to, where I really separate everything out. So like Wormkin's secondary, particularly the, I guess they're kind of equal, but I would expect this where Fracture's better. Echo Break definitely seems just kind of, not really objectively, but pretty damn close to objectively worse than Fracture. But I guess they're close enough that maybe it's not that big of a difference. What else? Anything else here stand out? For whatever reason, Torch secondary is like most of my Hellhorned losses. I guess Torch primary too, but still no losses with Imp variant Hellhorn. That's worth noting. I still do stand by that Queen's Implings are one of the more underrated basic starter cards in the game. Plink secondary 100% win too. And also, Stygian has actually gone up a lot. Like, as a secondary, I haven't lost with Stygian. I haven't lost with Tethys, apparently. Obviously, you won't see the Cranberry run in here, because I'm filtering out anything that's, like, pre-seeded or mutated. I did lose a Soul Guard run, but I still think Soul Guard's very strong, and the one I lost is completely my fault. As far as the cards go, let's actually go down to separating them out by banner units and non-banners. So, Paraffin Enforcer, no surprise here. I think latching on to the fact that this is just so powerful and consistent has really helped my Melting Remnant game. You can just have Paraffin Enforcer kind of carry the runs for you. Also, this one's interesting right here. I think I stand by this. I do actually think Animus of Will is better than the Sweepers. They're all very good, you know, Husk, Shattered Shell, but I think Animus of Will is less reliant on specific upgrades, and I just think it's better. I think that you lack a little bit of wave clear for Divinity, but on every other fight, the wave clear is going to be fine. But you really, really gain the ability to cut down your relentless fights by a lot, and also you can kill those mini-bosses usually with Animus of Will without too much issue. It just benefits so much more from scaling than the Sweepers do. Just better at killing tanks too, just kind of throughout the run. But, you know, all three of those units are great. I think they're and also Awoken Hollow, you'll notice I've been featuring a lot more. I think Awoken Hollow, Animus of Will are S tier, and I think that Husk Hermit is potentially S tier, and I'd put, like, Shattered Shell as, like, A plus tier. I think that's, honestly, those 4 units are a huge part of why Awoken is such a good clan, because I don't think the spells are particularly that great. There's a few good ones, we'll get to that in a little bit here, but there's a lot of bad spells in Awoken. It's like Awoken never necessarily feels super strong to me, it's just that they have such good units. Rail Beater, no surprise there, it's always been featured for me in the DLC, it's just such a good unit. Keeper of Echoes, I will say I've had a few where it just didn't scale fast enough. It's a tough one for me to figure out, Keeper of Echoes. I do think it's a good unit. Still kind of figuring that out. But yeah, Lodestone Totem also very good for Stygian 5-0. I think Lodestone Totem is about as good as it was before. The only problem is you often can't just full Lodestone Totem like I did pre DLC. I still like to get 3 or 4 of them on the floor, but you usually need like some backliner to deal with the potential Spikes mini-boss for Divinity. So it's a little bit more tricky than it was pre-DLC, but it's still pretty damn solid. Shattered Shell we see. Siren of the Seas, obviously very good. Titan Sentry, been using him more, very good. The Bog Egg, good. So on and so forth. I mean, I can't really go through everything here. It's just more worth noting the kind of the changes from before. You know, Animus of Will has been featured a lot more. Enforcer and Awoken Hollows are like 3 big changes. Fledgling Imp still getting used. Not enough, by the way. Every Hellhorn loss literally was because I did not pick Fledgling Imp. Tiresome Clam, still good. Space Prism, very good. I think this is the card that might be... So Umbra, it's been tough for me to evaluate Umbra. You'll notice up here, Umbra's doing pretty well. Like, you know, if we look at it by just blended here, Umbra as a clan has a 92% win rate. And if I split them out, actually Exile does better, oddly enough. I do think Plinks are underrated, and Primordium is obviously a way better champ than Penumbra, but still, like 90 and 94, pretty powerful. I think a big part of that is I have really shied away from trying to take Umbra banners and relying on them. I think that helps you with Umbra, as odd as that sounds, but the thing with Umbra is there's a few spells that are just really good, and, you know, Space Prism's one of them, but in general, they just have really good common cards, commons and rares. I don't think the uncommons, they're kind of hit and miss. There's a few good ones, but a lot of bad ones at the uncommon tier. But at the common tier, it's hard to really miss with Umbra. You know, there's Space Prism, there's Lifesteal, there's Damage Shield. There's some pretty good morsel generating cards if you have to end up doing morsels. So yeah, there's just a lot of good stuff at the common tier. Perils, of course, is very good too. Anything else jumping out? Offering Token has been a very staple card for me with Stygian. You know, and that's a tough one to evaluate because if you look at my like data when I wasn't doing good with Stygian, Offering Token wasn't performing well. So it's like sometimes if you're not, it's hard to evaluate things when you're looking at your card data. If you're just not playing the clan well, it's not. You know, you might be taking cards often that are good, but you're just not winning with them, so it like reflects poorly on them. But I think Offering Token's pretty damn good. Crit Builder as well. This is probably the best common. These two are the best commons, I would say, hands down for Stygian. Like, definitely be looking for those when you play Stygian. Rail Spike, no surprise there. Umberstone, very good. Razor Sharp Edge. The commons are hit and miss with Awoken, but Razor Sharp Edge, the way I see it, Razor Sharp Edge, Glimmer, Wildwood Sap, those are the good commons in a general sense, and everything else is not that good at the common tier for Awoken. Like sometimes Resto Dedo can be good. Sharpen will never be good. Sometimes the Steel Enhancer can be good, but a lot of times it's not good enough. So it's very, hit and miss. But you can see the three commons that I listed are pretty well represented, like Razor Sharp Edge 15-0, Wildwood Sap 14-0. I guess Glimmer I haven't chosen as much, but I think that's just a variance. Where is Glimmer? Should be up here. Wow, it's not even on the first page apparently. Well, whatever. But I still think Glimmer is very good. Don't know if there's anything here. I guess, Awoken Hollow Synthesis, you'll notice that is in line with the fact that I was also 8-0 with Awoken Hollows. It's always a self-infusion. It's just so damn powerful to self-infuse this unit. I also think the Animus of Will is a super good essence. I really don't agree with anybody that says this is like a weak way to get multi-strike. I think it's one of the best ways to get multi-strike out of the essences. The downside here is often not realized at all. It's rare that you have a backliner, at least the way I play, that had a full 15 to begin with. And even if they do, it's really not that much of a downside. I mean, usually you're gonna have to have some way to scale anyway, and beyond maybe the first wave, it's always gonna be a net positive to just have an extra strike. Like, who cares about 15 less damage, right? I think it's one of the least. And if you start with really low damage, you don't even lose that 15. Like, if the Animus of Will self-infusion is really good, I think. Like, if you didn't add a large stone or something, you're literally losing 3 damage to get a multi-strike. That's basically free. What else? Siren of the Sea Synthesis, very good. This has become one of my favorites. Titan Sentry, self-infusion there, really. Although I put it once into a tomb with mixed results. It still won the run. Can't remember if I uploaded that one or not. Maybe I did. Yeah, so on and so forth. A lot of good stuff here, but it kind of gets sparse pretty quick just since we have a low sample size. And I've been taking draw at even higher rates than before. You'll notice I take draw more than the other two combined now. So, 79 and 6 versus 30 and 2 and 28 and 4. If you combined these up, it wouldn't even match the Herzl's Compound. So Herzl's Compound is the draw upgrade artifact. This is the pip upgrade, and this is the Ember upgrade. Faulty Loader I've been taking a lot. I think it's a top tier artifact. It's amazing at all stages of the game. It counters first wave Scourge Shufflers as well. It counters Resolvers. It's just so nice, and it just allows you to take care of that first wave where you often might not be scaled up to beat it, because sometimes the wave ones are just stupid, like Ragefell and whatnot. Hell's Banners, no change here. It's always been good. Cheater's Hand I've been taking a lot more. I think it's super good. That there's so much that opens up with Cheater's Hand. So much awkwardness that is no longer awkward. Lightstone Casing, I've started to like this more than Firestone Housing. I mean, they're both great, but I find that with the Divine Temple upgrades and whatnot, Lightstone just ends up being a bit more there. Shard of Divinities, most of the times I've taken this, it's been irrelevant, but hey, I'll always take it, right? Cleansing water I apparently keep taking. I still don't think it's as good as people say. I think it's unreliable and it's not necessarily that high impact on a lot of runs, but I wouldn't say it's bad. I think it's definitely never something you just skip. It's usually just something you see it. If nothing's better, you take it. But for the record, I don't think it's like this insane artifact that a lot of people make it out to be. Like I said, I think it's unreliable, and in a lot of runs, it just doesn't end up being that relevant. So on and so forth. You know, you can look at it yourself, but there's not necessarily huge changes other than I've been taking draw more. And let's see, champ paths. I don't know if there's specific champ paths. I mean, Soulguard Titan channel is pretty good, of course. Brawler, Architect 3, I mean, this is just an artifact of, like, this is the only viable paths, really, with these champs, if you want them to do stuff. It's very rare that the other paths actually can be relied upon. Aggressive I've been taking more with Primordium. I do think it's generally just the best. It's just the most boring, right? Dark Calling, this is the Vision of Fire special right here. Oh, yay. Yay, my internet. Well, good thing I'm recording offline. Spine Chief, Corruptor. Hard to say between Corruptor and Decayer what's better. I think Corruptor's easier to pull off, but you can't go wrong with either one. And yeah, there's just too much there to go over. This is the blended champ path. I don't know if there's much extra to go over there. And yeah, anything, I don't know if there's like particular combos. Stygian Guard and Hellhorn, the Imp variant, by the way, 5-0. I think that people hate on this combo way too much. The combo I would hate, the only combo I think is bad with Soulguard is Dregs. I would even extend that to maybe Primitive Mold, but really it's Dregs, I think, is the only one I would consider weak. I don't consider the Imp variant weak at all. Like, you do lose out on some incant synergy there, but it's way blown out of proportion, I feel. The people, like, they also, you also find people that will say Shard Tail and Stygian is like a bad combo. On both fronts, I just don't agree. Like, just because you have anti-synergy present in a clan combo doesn't mean that the actual synergies that are present just magically go away, right? Like, you still have the opportunity to have a Fledge Imp with a clan that has 2 sweepers. Even if you don't hit on that, you have an incanter that gains rage into a clan that has a lot of rage, just works well with rage, right? It doesn't change the fact that both those champs are good, and the imp itself is good, I feel. It doesn't change the fact that Transcendent can just auto-win you a game, because I think it's relevant. I mean, it's not that rare to find a rare non-banner unit. It is rare to find a rare banner unit, but like, if you look at any particular rare here, the ones that are desirable, if we go back to the where is it, stats per, yeah, this one. So I'm sorting by win here. Let's see, like, Unleash the Wildwood 10 times, that's a rare. It shows up often enough. Remember, there's only 8 rares in a clan, and you're guaranteed 2 rare drafts minimum at each of the the bosses, the main bosses, and you just always have a chance to find a rare on top of that. Plus, there's cavern events that can find you rares. It's not that rare to find a rare. I wouldn't say you find them in over half your runs necessarily, but you find them enough that, to me, the fact that you have Transcendent, which is essentially a free win when you have Queen Simplings, to me, that's worth like valuing a clan combo still, like, as a very positive thing, right? Even if there is some anti-synergies. But I am going off so many tangents here. This video is about 10 minutes longer than I thought it would be, but I think we're about done here. The losses, I had my first patient loss, and it was all my fault. I just played that run horribly, and then everything else is at Last Divinity. So I'm at least like, I think my cooling down of taking shards early, which I realize is relevant. I still take shards probably more than most of the high win rate players, but I've cooled it down significantly, and that has definitely, as you can see, helped me not lose early on Ring 4 and 5, which was always an issue for me, and Ring 2 even. And as you can see, the results kind of speak for themselves. Like, I only lose late game now, which is good. I don't know if there's much here. Like, Scourge fell, I lose the most health. No surprise there. This fight is frickin' annoying. I lose a lot of health on these. I mean, I lost 63 health to only Scourges. I remember that one specifically. So, you know, the way I build decks, Scourge Fell definitely is not easy for me to deal with. I'm rarely taking Embers, so I can never play those 2 costs. And I'm always setting up top floor, so I'm often just having a lot of Scourges shuffled into my deck. But even though I lose all that health, I still win, right? It's nice to just come in with a lot of Pyre buffer and just get through. Well, that's going to do it for this one. Hopefully that was interesting to those that are liking data the way that I like it. Yeah, I think that made sense in English. Kinda not. Oh well. But, you know, I'm glad to see that improvement is being made just month by month. Now, I will say, I feel like I don't know if I can actually get necessarily better than this. Like I said, I'm prone to just bad days, and bad days I just don't play well, and I'm gonna lose. Like, I'll never get to 100 with everything, but the main thing I'm going to focus on for this month, I think, is getting Wurmkin's secondary figured out. It really, if you look at this, is the only weak part of my game right now. You know, I don't consider Hellhorn Torch weak. I think I just had some variance there. But, yeah. Until next time, peace.